be like the Frank Ocean of like lesbian Latine music. I want to be like the gay Frank Ocean mixed with like Chabela Vargas, Juan Gabriel, and like a little bit of Beyonce, Rihanna, Bad Bunny. Hola, ¿qué tal? I'm Reyna de Reyna Tropical here with SoundExchange, and you're watching SoundAdvice.
First, congrats on your debut album.
Thank you so much.
How did you craft your sound for this album? You have a lot of influence from like Peruvian to Colombian influences. What kind of went into building that together?
I hold so many worlds within myself that my obsession is in kind of investigating the ways that indigenous wisdom exists all over the world, and how they come together and work together with African innovation in music and in history, and how we can learn about that history through the music too. And in Reyna Tropical specifically, Reyna Tropical has been the outlet for me to be in that process with myself, right? In that process of opening and listening, and through that listening of nature that took me to Peru, through the desire to move and dance that took me to Colombia, through my own identity as Mexicana, being born there, that took me through the fusion of all of that, and how all of those work together to really create something brand new. And for me, I really identify with that. I really identify with the ways that of the diaspora, and how all of this kind of chaos and the differences, and there's so much that exists within us, instead of being afraid of it, I leaned in and was like, I'm actually gonna lean into the fact that I am the only one with this experience, that I live with so many worlds, and that is such a huge power, to be in connection with my ancestors, my indigenous ancestors, with my European ancestors, and to say, actually, ¿sabes qué? Ahorita it's no longer the European ancestors' time. It's like, I'm listening to my indigenous ancestors, and what they have to say, and Malegría was really a voice for them to express.
And you can tell because the sound of the album is so unique. Like, I don't think I've ever heard anything quite like that before. And it was fun watching also some of your interviews where you talked about how you grew up actually in a lot of silence.
Yeah.
And being able to like create something like this too. Can you talk a little bit about like your influences growing up?
Totally. I mean, I give thanks to the silence so much. And I have definitely an evolving relationship with silence. I grew up as an only child with a single mom. And so she worked 4 jobs, and often I just, kind of sat in silence, and we didn't listen to much music. It was just kind of figuring out how to process that existence. And that silence really taught me how to hold a lot of my anger, and how to process it. And I'm so lucky that somehow, the music found me, because I was able to put words to the process of recycling a feeling and energy as strong as anger into creation. That's to me what music is. It's this amazing, crazy tool that we get to recycle, and I think silence is fundamental to that. I've learned. I've also been afraid of being alone or being in silence, and I now know that when I feel that way, it's because I need to get through something. When I feel scared of the silence, it's because there's something that I'm trying to break through. So it's been such a beautiful tool to just go inside, and be able to visualize what my internal waters look like.
You talked a little bit about using music to help you process your anger, and then also with this album, grief. How did you bring that into your writing process? And how did you choose what exactly to share, what not to share, and process these emotions through it?
Yeah. Well, actually, Reyna Tropical I've been in bands for a long time, and I've been in the music industry for a long time in many forms. And Reyna Tropical is this really special project for me because I don't write like this any other time. It's improv, whatever's in that moment, I'll improvise the lyrics, I'll improvise the parts, and I give myself kind of like a 4-hour time slot. So it's really kind of like, again, an investigation within myself, within my own fusions and within my own diaspora, my own waters. I'm like, okay, what am I feeling? And in that kind of pressure and restriction, I get to find out. Yeah, I mean, just the process of being in communication with myself through music is, I don't know, I feel like it's magic. I'm just like, whoa, I get to be in connection to like spirit. I'm the chosen one. That's kind of how I feel about music.
Well, you've also said that this project and this album in specific was one of the most beautiful things that you've created that has come out of like all these raw emotions. When did you know it was ready to be released?
Malegría specifically, and maybe Malegría specifically, things just, it's hard to put into words, and it sounds like so weird and cheesy because I don't know how to describe it yet, but magic is the only way that I can, because it really literally felt like it was just put into place in front of me, like the interludes of Malegría, I just kind of randomly chose. I have like hundreds of voice messages, and I just randomly chose them in the moment, knowing that it was due the next day. So putting myself in a position of restriction and pressure really helps me, and just allows me to just trust the moment and the energy, and just know that like I've done the research, I trust myself, and I'm gonna just let time do its thing.
What advice would you give to artists navigating putting out their debut album, coming out of this experience?
It should first and foremost be an album for you. Be an album for that you're gonna look back at it and it's gonna inspire memory. And I think my first album is not just an album; it's a time capsule. It's a portal, and it's so beautiful for me to be able to go back into that time for that moment. And Malegría is an album that I can listen to nonstop, every day, all day. Still, I love it. I'm obsessed with it, and I think it's important to be obsessed with it. Even, I think too often we're told like to be cool and whatever, and I'm just like, no, I'm obsessed with what I make. And I encourage people to be in that mindset too.
I want to talk about how you released Malegría like under Psychic Hotline. How did you find that partnership? Because before that you were independent.
Yeah, I've never had any team in music. So when Psychic Hotline reached out to us, I guess it was years ago, and both Sumo and I, my partner who passed away, we were very anti system. We were like, we're doing this on our own, and that's what we were about, and then Psychic Hotline came back before Sumo passed, and we were just down. We felt like we had reached the capacity of what we could do alone, and they just felt like family immediately, and then after Sumo passed, they just really believed in me at a time when really no one else did. When Sumo passed and I was in this place of transitioning to solo artist, no one wanted anything to do with me. They didn't know what was going to happen. They didn't know if I was going to be able to do it. And Psychic Hotline was there. They were like, you can do this. And they encouraged me to really visualize it, because without someone believing in me like that, I wouldn't have been able to see a future like that. But because they offered me that platform, I was like, yes, that's where my grief is going to go. So I really love Psychic Hotline. I can't say enough good things about them. They're family.
I feel like similar to you, there are a lot of artists that struggle with, like wanting to stay independent versus signing a label. And it feels like you found someone that was a good fit for you, and a lot of that being their belief in your work and your vision. What advice do you have for other artists kind of like in that phase? Do I stay independent? Do I look for a partner? What should I be looking for in this partner?
I think no matter what, you have to find a team that believes in your ideas, even if they seem crazy, and even if when they're not the right ones. You know, to say, I think having a team that is willing to entertain and to visualize and to see and to have conversations about a conversation, even if it gets you back to like, actually, that's a horrible idea and we should never do that. Still being, for me, it really closes me up when someone tells me no immediately without even thinking about it. And I need to be told yes, even just to see where it takes me, you know, because I might have an idea and just the yes takes us in a totally different direction, but we would have never gotten there had the initial yes not been there. So I feel like just someone who believes in you, you know, that's the team that I think is really important.
Being in the industry for this long, is there anything that you wish you knew before you started?
Oh my God. I mean, so much. I wish I knew everything before I started because I knew nothing when I started and it was chaotic. But honestly, I think the biggest thing that I would have wanted to know was just to trust my gut feeling and to believe in magic, that music is magic. And I've just always carried that, you know. I think my purpose and my goal in music is to make it, but make it with the purpose of distributing the fact that music is spirit and to return us back to that spirit, you know. And to me, the music industry is tricky because it can take you out of that. And so I'm actually really interested in how do we, what is that new way of collaborating with industry, so that we can stay connected and in relationship to spirit.
Do you have any ideas on what you would think that would look like? What a music industry,
I mean, first and
ideally would look
foremost,
like?
the language we use, you know, to describe music and how we learn and, you know, the steps to, for me, had I learned, I teach and I choose to play through something I call like intuitive technique. I want to learn first what my intuition holds and how to express from there before I learn the technique of chords or scales, because there's so much that I know that scales or having some kind of diagram takes me away from that, you know? So for me, learning through a lens of intuitive technique is, yeah, I think my biggest recommendation.
In the industry, what is the best piece of advice that you've received?
Well, I'm manifesting more mentors and more elders and more just people with that knowledge, because I really missed out on a lot of that and I wish I had more guidance. You know, actually, I will say this. This is going to take us into the industry because I used to run this magazine, She Shreds, and I would just kind of give everything away, you know. And I met this lady who hired me to do an ad, you know, and I was like, oh, I'll charge this much. And she was like, I'm going to pay you quadruple because that's how much you need to be charging. So it really, even though that's like logistics and finances, it actually really taught me how to believe in my worth and how to ask for it. And that moment actually really changed me because being so spirit based, I want to give it all away. But it's so, what I can offer is actually so valuable. And she really taught me how to talk about that. So that would be probably one of the big things that really stand out.
If you could envision where you would want to be 5 years from now, what does that look like?
I mean, I want to be like the Frank Ocean of like lesbian Latine music. You know, I want to be like the gay Frank Ocean mixed with like Chavela Vargas, Juan Gabriel, and like a little bit of Beyonce, Rihanna, Bad Bunny.
I see that.
Do you see that?
I do see
okay,
that.
cool.
That
Let's
was a
make it
very good
happen.
description.